Hello and welcome to another episode of the Monday Night Wars. It is New Year's, January 1st, 1996. We are live as always with Monday Night Nitro at the Omni in Atlanta, Georgia, home of the 1996 Olympics. And with me tonight is Joseph. Joseph, how are you?
I'm good, Scott. How are you?
Man, I'm just so excited. I am ready to do this with you. A little show note here, folks. We're going to try and get through a ton of these today, tomorrow, and the next day. We're on our Christmas breaks right now because we're trying to get ahead so we can just give you the best product possible. We just do it for the people, Joseph. We do it out of love.
Always out of love.
Always. And with us is Eric Bischoff, is Bobby the Brain Heenan, is Steve Mongo McMichael, and of course, Pepe. But let's get right into it because we got a match. We got Randy Savage and Arn Anderson. This is very exciting. Arn cost Macho Man the title at Starrcade, and the Macho Man wants revenge. Arn starts the match really working the Macho Man, but the Macho Man takes it outside. He hits him with his jacket. You ever been hit by the zipper part of the jacket? That could do some damage. That's serious stuff there. Eric Bischoff talks shit about the Raw Bowl and he spoils the finish, so there's no need to watch that. Bobby notes that, quote, Arn Anderson can break every bone in a chicken leg and not even touch the skin. So that's something. Arn's an operator. Arn also tries to hit Savage with the brass knuckles, but Savage gets a hold of them and decks Arn after the ref gets bumped. He sees nothing. Randy Savage defeats Arn Anderson 6 minutes, 55 seconds. After the match, Brian Pillman and Chris Benoit come out to protest, but the ref didn't see anything. Joseph, what'd you think about this?
So first off, let's talk about what Mach is wearing because we got it. It's a new year, but we're not getting rid of this segment. We're just
New
gonna
year, new you.
eat it.
New Macho Man outfit.
There's really not a whole lot new. His outfit is pretty new. I described this as the print that your grandmother would wear on her nice dress suits for the holidays. That's what this looks like to me. And somehow Macho Man pulls it off. It gets a B. It's not his best. It's not his best ever, but it's a lot of fun. This match itself is a very fun match. It's an old school kind of wrestling match. It's Arn Anderson. It's Macho Man Randy Savage. They've got great chemistry. Everything they do, they hit all of the notes. It's a lot of fun. I don't know if I would call it a slobber knocker, you know how JR always says, but it's just heavy hitting. It's impactful. It's not showboaty. It's not very showboaty. It's telling a story in the ring. It's just a nice old school match. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I also enjoyed kind of the storyline continuing in this. Overall, this is going to get an A for me. The crazy thing about all this, and we're going to go into this a lot more in the next few weeks, I'm not going to spend too much time on it tonight or for this particular episode. This storyline is going into a very bad direction within the next few months. And we'll get there, folks. We'll get there. But what's crazy is a lot of the players in this storyline I thoroughly enjoy. As much as we can criticize people like Hulk Hogan, I do thoroughly enjoy Hulk Hogan for what he was as a character. I love Macho Man Randy Savage. I love Arn Anderson, Ric Flair. And you'd think if you put the four of these men in a storyline, we should get a very, very fun ride. And we do initially. Initially, there's a lot of positives, but it's going to go south, unfortunately. So at this moment, you're very optimistic watching this. If you're watching this for the first time, you're going to be like, oh, this is great. Let's keep going with this. And rightfully so. Hold on to that optimism. Hold on to it as long as you can.
I think you're being too optimistic because it goes south tonight. And we'll get there. And we will get there. But for this match, you're right. Good technical match. I mean, Macho Man, Arn, these guys are great technical wrestlers. You know we love two dudes slapping meat. We get it. Good match. Nothing to complain about. But it's going to go downhill from here. But not yet. Because up next, Joseph, we've got Lord Steven Regal versus Chris Benoit. Pretty straightforward match. Pretty straightforward. Another one. This is another one where it's just two technically proficient guys going at it, having a great match. There's a lot of headbutts, though, some pretty stiff ones, which in hindsight, kind of unpleasant to watch. Hank Aaron's in the house, though. Hank Aaron himself is in the house. Athletes watching athletes. That's what this is. There's some tombstone reversals. And if you're a longtime listener, you know I love me some tombstone reversals. And then Benoit goes for the top rope, but Regal rolls out of the way. Benoit knocks himself out. Lord Steven Regal defeats Chris Benoit 5 minutes, 42 seconds. In the ring after, they're there with Mean Gene. And Brian Pillman, he's pissed. The Horsemen are down 0-2 tonight. Lost to Macho Man Randy Savage, lost to Steven Regal. They should be 4-0. You get what I did there? Because there's the Four Horsemen. Did you get that?
That was really good, Scott. You should
that
keep
was. Thank you. That was so good. I'm on a roll. I got a bunch. I got these all written in all over the place. It's gonna get wild. Benoit says Regal just got lucky though, and Arn reminds them that keeping the belt on Flair is the only thing that matters, and that Pillman needs to stop being a loose cannon and getting into fights with the Dungeon. Cue the Dungeon. But Jimmy Hart and Giant hold them back. What a development. Joseph, what's this all about?
Man, you were not wrong. They immediately go into what I was talking about. And I again, more, pulling back the curtain, I took these notes forever ago. So I completely forgot that it was this soon. This is insane. I'm going to grade these two things separately because I think there's the match, and then obviously there's the post-match segment. The match itself, like you said, it gets a B+ for me. I'm not going to give it an A because there's no storyline going on. The Arn Anderson and Macho Man match was in no way better from a wrestling standpoint. I'm not saying it was, but when you include the fact there is an actual storyline going on and that it is progressing that storyline properly, that's why that gets an A and this doesn't. In case for some weird reason, this is the first episode you're joining us on, that's why. But it gets a B+. It's a fantastic match. Those two men cannot have a bad match. Steven Regal, later on William Regal, and Chris Benoit, later on Chris Benoit. They cannot have a bad match at all. That all being said, there is a really cool, fun thing that happens, which is Hank Aaron. Hammer and Hank Aaron is in the crowd, Scott. He's front row. And Mongo says that he correctly states that he had 755 home runs in his career. At which point, Bobby the Brain Heenan says, if he had listened to me, he'd have hit 800, which is a really good line. But also, did you know, and I think you do, but our listeners may not know, there was a gentleman named Josh Gibson. To be clear, no one in the majors has ever hit 800 home runs. It's never happened. But there's a gentleman named Josh Gibson who is in the Negro Leagues, which is a very, very old statement, who allegedly hit 800 home runs. But because he hit it in a league that allegedly did not track its stats properly, AKA they probably got lost intentionally once the major leagues removed the competition, he allegedly hit 800 home runs. He is known as the greatest power hitter in Negro League history. So there you go, Josh Gibson. Anyways, Regal beating Benoit is a surprising outcome, though. And it does play perfectly into the segment, like you just mentioned, of the post-match segment. This, unfortunately, only gets a C for me. There's really only one thing that I genuinely liked, which is Arn Anderson pointing out that Brian Pillman keeps picking fights. And basically, you need to stop doing that because we can only defend you so much. And he puts him in his place. There's actually going to be an even better Arn Anderson, Brian Pillman segment in a bit. But that being said, at this moment, this is a lot of fun. This particular segment is not the best once Dungeon of Doom comes out. They really are just rudderless, and it's gonna keep going, folks. So right now it gets a C for me, but we'll see how the rest of the night goes.
Spoiler alert, it's going to keep going downhill. But yes, you are right. The match itself was good. I really got no bones to pick about the match, but the aftermath, well, I think Arn was good. I like Arn. I like Arn promos, just kind of the just the facts, standing on business kind of thing that Arn does. I always enjoy that. but we're starting to see the issues, and they're only gonna get worse from here. But after that, it's 6:05 Saturday night, Joseph. The American males versus Arn Anderson and Brian Pillman. That actually sounds like a pretty good match. And Lex Luger versus Cobra, because that guy's still around. Poor guy. Kind of feel bad for him.
I completely forgot about Cobra. Let's just move on.
He's still around on Saturday night getting squashed by Lex Luger. So there it is. But after that, we got a Lex Luger match. We got Lex Luger and Sting, because they're a tag team, versus the Super Assassins, which are comprised of Super Assassin 1 and Super Assassin 2 with Colonel Robert Parker. Why? I don't know. But he's there. I don't know. Sting and Luger come out separately. Trouble in Paradise. Jimmy Hart's sinister plan to break them up that was mentioned once and never again taking effect. Can Sting trust Luger? Do we trust Sting? Who knows? I don't care, because I want to talk about the Super Assassins. The Super Assassins, though, this is the news. Barbarian and Warlord. They are better known as the Powers of Pain during their tenure in Jim Crockett Promotions and the World Wrestling Federation. They wrestled under this gimmick for a couple of years until the Legion of Doom was negotiating to join WWF and supposedly demanded that the Powers of Pain be split up and repackaged because their face paint was too similar. It is pretty similar. They were and quickly lost any momentum they had gained and left the WWF. Warlord will not be with WCW long, but more importantly, Barbarian is here. Faces of Fear, here we come, Joseph. This is exciting.
Scott loves Faces of Fear, rightfully so, but he loves him some Faces of Fear.
They're a good tag team. They do tag team stuff. I like it. But that is not where we are at yet. Right now, we are with the Super Assassins 1 and 2. During this match, though, Sergeant Craig Pittman stops by again, and he asks Mongo to manage him. I don't know why. Mongo doesn't know how to wrestle, or does he? But Mongo gives him a pep talk. He tells him he's a Marine. He should start acting like one. Destroy people like Marines do. Good guy Mongo trying to help out Sergeant Craig Pitbull Pittman. Oh, it's incredibly sad and it needs to stop. Overall, though, good squash match with some tag team moves from the Super Assassins, and we always like that. But as you know, Lex and Sting, they got to win. They defeat the Super Assassins 5 minutes, 52 seconds. Joseph, tell me more.
I'm surprised that you didn't point out that Mongo's advice was that Pitbull only pawn in Game of Life.
That's beautiful, man. That's like poetry. Did you come up with that yourself?
Yeah, I did. I wrote that myself. It absolutely cannot be attributed to Melvin Brooks.
God, we're going to get so many letters.
I don't even know if Mel is short for Melvin. We'll find out. But yeah,
that legal letterhead. We'll find out real quick.
Yeah. What a way to get sued. The match is not great. It gets a C- for me. It's a squash match. And look, there's going to be a tag team later on in WCW's tenure that is also numbered that we are hot on, especially you, Scott, especially you. The Super Assassins ain't it. I don't have a lot to say other than Sting comes out also looking like a grandma, but his is better. It's a B+. It's not a great match though. It's whatever. C-. It's a squash. There's not much to say. Let's just move on.
I got to disagree with you. I mean, it is a squash match. Absolutely. So there's really no tension or concern. But I do think, Lex is not the greatest wrestler, but Sting is pretty good. And, the Super Assassins are a tag team. They've been a tag team. They've been the Powers of Pain. They were a tag team for quite a while. They've been a tag team like 5 years. So they do have some moves. They do work together well. And that part I liked. So I don't hate it. I thought it was good for what it was. I mean, it was a squash match. We knew it was going to be a squash match. But I thought the Super Assassins handled themselves well. And for that, I'll give it to them. You know who else I'm going to give it to, Joseph?
Who's that, Scott?
Mean Gene! Because he brings out Jimmy Hart and the Giant. Because our intrepid journalist has questions. Why did they stop the dungeon from getting at the Horsemen? And you know what, Joseph? Jimmy's got another plan. He has a plan to work with the Horsemen and to put an end to Hulkamania. I hope this plan is better thought out than the plan to break up Sting and Lex, because that shit ain't working. Joseph, what do you think?
I think you'll be surprised to find out that I hated this segment.
Not surprised at all.
It got an actual F from me. It's not good. The whole thing's bad. Jimmy Hart at one point says, "You know, Mean Gene." I'm not going to do a Jimmy Hart impression. My voice can't go that high. I'm just not even going to try. I did it once and it wasn't even that great. But he says, "You know, Mean Gene, are you really that short, or are you standing in a hole?" They're the same height. They're the exact same height. It's like the Spider-Man meme where they're pointing at each other. It's that. Then the giant
bro. That's heel 101.
Look.
That's good heel stuff.
No, you can defend it all you want. It wasn't good. It's horrible.
All right, fine.
The giant screams in the mic, and after he screams in the mic, Mean Gene says, "I don't know what he's saying." And I agree, Mean Gene. I have no idea what he's saying either. I've spent a lot of time trying to like decipher like Ahmed Johnson in WWF and try to figure out like exactly what he's saying. I tried like once after the initial scream, I tried to go back real quick and decipher what the giant said. And the second time through, I was like, this is hopeless. I'm not going to have any idea what this is. And I just moved on.
Could you imagine if the giant and Ahmed Johnson were in the same promotion?
Oh my God.
They'd probably get put together. No, they'd get put together. I think they'd get put together.
Dude, a tag team.
Oh, it'd be so good.
AJ and TG. There you go.
Oh, but for our sakes, they're not. So we got that going for us. After that, though, we got a match. And it's a Hulk Hogan Ric Flair match. And you think, oh, this is going to be good. It's got Ric Flair in it. And it's for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. It's the main event. How exciting. No. Ric Flair enters first, even though he's the champion. No, I ain't about this. I don't like where this is going because Hogan be Hogan.
I love that you have that note. My very first note on here is I hate when the champ comes out first.
This is disrespectful.
It is.
And the kind of crap you expect from Hogan. Because again, he has creative control of his character in his contract. So I don't doubt for a second he was involved in this. You know, and some of the other things I read, it's like, well, he's making his, his wrestling return or whatever. I don't give a shit. He's in the main event. That's enough.
And the other egregious action he makes against us, he's wearing his boring outfit.
And how can we do that? How can he do that to you? How can he do that to you? So Ric Flair enters first, but he's the champ. That's not how this works. So I'm already not about this. And then Hogan is Hogan. He sells everything. He reverses the figure fucking 4, Joseph. He reverses it. Jimmy Hart and I have both had enough of this because Jimmy Hart comes out to the ring and distracts Hogan and the ref. Arn sneaks in with the brass knucks, but Hogan sells that shit too, for the love of God. Hogan takes the brass knucks back out of Arn's trunks. You could say he fondled Arn's double A's. And Hogan,
I like that. That was a good one.
I knew you were like that one. Hogan wins by DQ. He holds all of the horsemen at bay with the brass knucks. The entire stable. Hulk Hogan single-handedly holds them back because he's got brass knucks. The dungeon arrives. Giant's got a bar stool. Savage intervenes. Hogan punches Giant out of the ring with the brass knucks. Savage and Hogan stand tall. I hate the whole thing. At the end, Mean Gene, I'm not even going to yell it because I'm just mad now. Mean Gene meets with Savage and Hogan in the ring. They make a challenge to Flair and Arn for next week. And I want nothing to do with this. What do you think about this, Joseph?
Scott, I think you hit the nail on the head with pretty much everything. Like I know normally I'll do a lot of the breakdown and my analysis on it, but I don't think there's really anything I disagree with you on. I gave it a C- because at least there is a storyline moving forward. And I'm just going to lump these two segments together. I know there's a post-match segment and all that, but it really is all the same stuff. It's getting a C- today, but it's going to wear very thin very quickly. And you're right about everything you said about Hogan. There's just so much ego in this. I mean, I think I had this in my notes a little bit later on, but like they go back to the fact that like his name is still on the title. That's ridiculous. Take his name off the title. It should have been Macho Man's on the title for a while. And then, now Ric Flair, but it's still Hulk Hogan, still says Hulk Hogan on that title. So it's just, the whole thing is not great. It overall, this show really is kind of a C+ show. There's some really good stuff in the beginning, and it tapers out immediately after those first like couple matches. So unfortunately, not the best showing from WCW.
You start with some good technical matches, yeah, but it quickly degrades as we get into this, the formulaic Hogan stuff that is coming to dominate WCW right now. And it's not good. But let's try to make things better. Let's see what WWF Raw has in store for us. Maybe this will change the night. Again, New Year's at the Bob Carpenter Center in Newark, Delaware. It is WWF Raw. And this is it, Joseph, the Raw Bowl. The Raw Bowl. It is what we have been waiting for. What does that mean? I'm not entirely sure, but they're all wearing football jerseys. The ring apron looks like a football field. There is a Raw Bowl queen. Jerry and Vince are making a lot of football jokes, and Jerry appears to be wearing a Browns jersey, which seems accurate considering his views on women.
That was really good. That got me. I wish I wasn't muted for that.
Well, let's get into it, Joseph. As for the Raw Bowl itself, it seems to be your standard elimination tag team match, but with timeouts and flags on plays. Because Vince looked at football and he said, you know what is fun about football? Timeouts and penalties. Because that's what everyone watches football for. So let's put it into our wrestling. And here we go. We've got a match between the World Tag Team Champions, the Smoking Guns, versus Razor Ramon and Savio Vega. That's a tag team. Owen Hart and Yokozuna, Psycho Sid, and the 1-2-3 Kid. This is our Raw Bowl Tag Team Battle Royale. Joseph, I'm not going to get into super detail because this match goes on for almost half an hour. There's a lot to unpack here. Brother Love makes an appearance, and when that happens, I'm not contractually obligated to talk about it anymore, and I get to defer to you. Break this whole thing down for me.
I will say Brother Love's ongoing segment through this it's stupid, but it's kind of funny. I think it's entertaining enough. Basically, he's giving a pep talk to a locker room that's empty, but because his eyes are closed the whole time, he has no idea that there's no one in the locker room. And it's a recurring gag, I want to say, through the entire episode of Raw. Overall, I think the match is fine. It got a B from me. It's a lot of weird things, right? You mentioned the timeouts and the flags and all that stuff. And yeah, that's weird, but it's intentionally a gimmick. It's themed. It's supposed to be themed for like the Super Bowl and the Pro Bowl and all that stuff. It's fine. It's something that they're really just having fun with. And honestly, I think WWF has been so rudderless for so long. And I apologize, everybody. You're probably going to hear my dog a lot through this. We just got a new dog, and there's a lot of barking going on. So I do apologize. But back to the match. This match is fine. It's a lot of fun. Everybody in the match does a really good job. Like they try to make this thing, from down to the details. Like you mentioned the ring, that they're all wearing jerseys. They at least make the theme go all the way over. And we've talked about this in the past when they have not just WWF but WCW, when they have kind of a show or a match and there's really a theme to it and they go all in on the theme. It's kind of endearing, at least to me. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I was just really quickly looking over my notes, and I think this may be the only good thing this night. So we'll find out. I can't be too sure on it. But overall, there's a lot of weird things that do happen in it. Jerry and Vince, like you said, they're making nonstop football puns. Like they clearly have a list and they're just reading them off one after another. At some point, Jerry Lawler says, we need to call the commissioner who's in charge of the NCAACP anyways. What he did there was he mixed up the NCAA and the NAACP because I think Jerry might be a bit of a racist. I don't know if you feel that way, Scott, but I'm just connecting dots. Anyways, allegedly. Anyways, it does eventually kind of get a little bit jumbled, the match, because they really they don't know how to make this work. Like they're trying their best. They don't know how to make it work. Like you said, It ends the way it ends. Overall, it's just ridiculous fun. Like, for what it is, it's fine. It's not trying to do a whole lot of like storyline building. The one thing I will say is that I've got this recurring note is, please let Razor move on. And every time that Razor has a match with involving him and the 1-2-3 Kid, my note just goes, are we finished now? Can Razor move on? And then a few weeks later, it's like, nope, here we go again. And then I have to write the same note. So there we are. And guess what, guys? In a few weeks, we're going to be right back.
Yeah, I don't hate this. I actually really don't hate this. I don't know if I actually gave the finish, but the Smoking Guns do end up winning the whole thing. It's got a theme. They're all wearing jerseys. It's something different. I actually kind of liked it. It wasn't perfect. The timeouts kind of seemed pointless because they just fought through the timeout anyways. But it was fun. It was something different. We like themes. We like gimmicks. We like when they dress up. They did all of that. How can I not say good things about it? How can we say this is what we want from you? And then they do it and I go, yeah, but not like that. I liked it.
That would be called being a wrestling fan, Scott.
That's true. That's true. You gave me everything I wanted and I hated it.
Yeah.
But I actually liked it. Yeah, I think it is the highlight for WWF for the night. Because after that, I take that back, because after that, we got a halftime show. And they have an actual marching band. And that ain't bad. That ain't bad. Doc Hendricks is giving us some updates. We're getting some, news from around the league. Jim Ross wants nothing to do with any of it, though. They try to pass it to him, and he just does not want anything to do with this, which was pretty funny. Joseph, do you have any thoughts on this, or should we get to our next exciting match?
I actually do. I was also incorrect when I said that was the highlight of the show, because I think this is the highlight of the show. Doc Hendricks gives not only the halftime report, but he calls it his 2-minute drill, starts the clock, and then hits every note he needs to hit in the next 2 minutes to prep everybody for what's coming up at the next pay-per-view, where all the rivalries stand, where all the matches stand. He does the whole thing in 2 minutes like he's freaking Chris Berman. It was fantastic. It was epic. I think when we were watching initially together, I think this is what made me a Doc Hendricks fan. And it's fantastic the second time through. I love it.
Well, then, if you love that, you'll love our next match. Because Joseph, remember how we loved that hog pin match?
Loved it.
Well, we get it again. And no, folks, it's not a new hog pin match. It's the same hog pin match.
Motherfucker.
They're re-showing a match from In Your House 5. They're replaying the entire hog pin match from In Your House 5 right now. My God, what is happening to the WWF? Also, F you people that put money in to watch this thing, because we're just going to show it for free. Money well spent, eh, Joseph?
This is the second time they've done this to us. At least this one we enjoyed the match, and it's not another Dr. Isaac Yankem DDS match.
Why you gotta do that?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, he's dead. He doesn't exist.
He's back next week.
Is he? I don't remember that.
Or the week after. I certainly remember him being back. But yeah, it's just a replay. But hopefully, you're right, they've done it before. Hopefully, they'll never do it again. So tune in next week when they do it again with Bret Hart versus the British Bulldog. What the hell? This is crazy.
I don't know why they do this. It makes no sense. There's another interesting note that I kind of realized when you were mentioning where this took place, this event, which is in Delaware, and the particular arena, which I can't remember. Let me see if I can find my notes. The Bob Carpenter Center that you mentioned. So I went, that kind of rings a bell. The last episode that we reviewed, which if to our 15 listeners, if you remember, last week only had Nitro because they pre-taped and they put an episode on Christmas, but they let everybody have the holidays off, which is very lovely of them. So the last time we saw Raw was the week preceding that, December 18th. And guess where that was at, Scott?
Tell me, Joseph, tell me.
The fucking Bob Carpenter Center in Newark, Delaware. Why couldn't they just tape multiple shows and have had a set? We talked about this last week. Why couldn't they just have a show? Instead, not only did you not tape enough for it, you did this whole Raw Bowl thing, presumably at some point in December when you were taping those shows. potentially November, which had to make everybody in the audience very confused. Then you release it on this day, which is fine because this is kind of an appropriate time for, the bowl games and whatnot. You have college football's bowl games and then the NFL's bowl games. But then after that, you don't even book a whole hour. There's no way that cleanup on the Raw Bowl match. Fuck, why do you even need cleanup? I know I'm cussing all over the place, folks. Just deal with it. Why do you even need cleanup? Just leave everything out there and let every match just feature the Raw Bowl arena. That'd be so much better. But it's a waste of time. There's a theory that I have, and I don't know if it's accurate. But when Nitro goes to 2 hours, I'm very interested to see when the jump is of them beating for 83 weeks. I know we're getting up to it within the next few months, but does that coincide with them hitting 2 hours? Because you could theoretically just change the channel at the end of an hour of Raw and go to Nitro and continue watching Nitro, and that would help their Nielsen ratings. And a segment like this would immediately get me to go, I just watched that. Change channel. You have to be losing viewers at this point.
I want to give you a little. I'm going to give you a stat. I'm going to give you a stat that you may be interested in. You mentioned that we've been at the Bob Carpenter Center for a couple of weeks now, and there's no reason why they couldn't have just taped an episode for Christmas. Do you know where Raw is at for the next 3 weeks?
Jesus fucking Christ. You're kidding me, right?
The Bob Carpenter Center. We are there for more than a month. Yeah. And they couldn't just do one more episode? I don't know. I do wonder if the guys were hitting, because a lot of wrestlers at the time had stipulations in their contract about how many events they would wrestle in a year. They had like a cap on how many events they would do, and if they hit the cap, they were kind of done. That's actually supposedly one of the reasons why WWF wasn't completely sad about Lex Luger leaving, because while he was with them, he'd hit his cap for the year, and he just didn't wrestle for like 3 months, and they were annoyed by that because he was one of their big talents, and so they were just kind of like, yeah, fine, whatever, you're not a team player, goodbye. I am wondering if, because they're doing hog pen, because they're reshowing pay-per-view matches, and they're going to do this for 2 weeks. They're going to do this again next week. Are dudes just hitting their caps? And we got to reset the clock here because, this is January 1st, right? So you think the clock ticks over, but these are pre-recorded. I don't understand. I mean, they don't have much of a roster. So if like 4 or 5 guys are just like, I hit my yearly cap, I don't have to wrestle anymore. Maybe that's what's happening. I don't have any explanation for what is going on, but my God, what is going on?
You know what, though? You know what's going to help, Scott?
The next match?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about it.
Okay.
Because this is Diesel versus King Mabel. Oh. All right. Well, really the only thing of note here is a young Jeff Hardy is helping to carry Mabel's throne, and this could be why he has back problems, because he is straining. It's not easy.
This episode's uncanny, the amount of notes that we both have on stuff, because my very first note is Jeff Hardy is visibly struggling to carry Mabel.
That poor guy. Yeah, I mean, well, that's kind of one of the amusing things about the King Mabel throne thing, is that they always get like just probably local talent to help carry it. And you can tell that dude is heavy. That throne is heavy because they are straining. And Jeff Hardy's not a big dude, so he is not having a good time with that. But let's talk about the match, Joseph. Here is the highlights. Diesel hits Mabel in the face with his boot, and it's over. And it's 8 seconds. And then Mo gets a powerbomb too.
Is it 8 seconds, really?
Yeah, it's 8 seconds. and Big Daddy Cool don't have time to talk to Jerry. Jerry wants to interview him, and Big Daddy Cool say no. And he and the Raw Bowl Queen, they leave. They leave together. It's over. That's it. What do you think, Joseph?
I think you'll be shocked and surprised to discover that I actually really like this. I know it's 8 seconds. So it's not really a match. It's a complete squash. I think this is the point where they are now out on Mabel. I believe he only appears in the Royal Rumble in a few weeks. And then I think him and Sir Mo are gone after that. I think I'm correct in that assessment. I'll have to look it up. And maybe at the Royal Rumble, we'll talk about it. But this is pretty much they're kind of done with him. They know he's not very safe in the ring. He's hurt a number of people, not the way that Hulk Hogan accuses people of hurting him, but the actually has legitimately hurt a few people. Most notably, obviously, the Undertaker.
He broke a man's
Yeah,
face.
yeah. He's very green. He's not an amazing character. They know that they don't really have what they kind of hope. They did hope. Let's be clear. They did hope that he was going to be the monster, the guy. It just didn't quite work out. And regardless of whose fault that is, it just doesn't matter. But they're out on him at this point. And I actually really like that Diesel squashes him, because ordinarily I would not. Ordinarily, I would think this is like complete crap and not how you should treat somebody. And I get that. If you're coming from that angle, I totally get it. But what I really do like about this is Diesel has kind of started to create this character of this just complete badass who really has no problem just walking through his opponents on his pursuit to regain the WWF championship. So to kind of start that with Mabel, who has been a threat for the better part of a year, he's been a legitimate threat to the main event scene and all the faces, to walk through him that quickly. Like, I'm not even playing around with you, I'm just getting the job done immediately. That's a really cool thing. I don't think they're going to be able to keep that momentum going very well, but it is a very cool thing. I liked it in the moment. Beyond that, it just kind of is what it is, but it got to be for me.
I think you have a point. The fact that we did not have to see another King Mabel match is a positive. And
I'm not sure that's how I said it, but sure.
I mean, that's the way I'm looking at it. That's my silver lining, because he's not good, and they were pushing him, so we were seeing him a lot. And maybe now there's like, nah, we don't need this. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that, and I'm okay with this squash match. Obviously, it is a squash match. So there's not really much to say about it. I don't even know if you can rate it, but we're not done, because we still got the Raw Bowl. Remember, the Raw Bowl happened, and we have to present the trophy. We have to present the Lombardi trophy. No, it's not that Lombardi. It's Steve Lombardi. It's the Steve Lombardi trophy. That's the Brooklyn Brawler. It's a bowling trophy with his face taped to it. The Guns are apparently insulted by this and proceed to smash the trophy, beat up the poor Brooklyn Brawler, and pour iced tea on him. Joseph, what do you think about this? Because I got to be honest with you, man, I kind of loved it.
I fucking hated it.
I
could not stand it. I could tell you liked it the minute you started cracking yourself up while talking about it. I hated it.
Well, you're wrong. It was fantastic.
Fair enough. All right, fair enough.
I got nothing more to say. I mean, what more can I say? I've told you.
There's nothing to say. There's nothing to say. You either liked it or you don't like it. There's no analysis we can go into. There's nothing. But hey, you know what? Every once in a while we got to disagree, and that's beautiful.
But after that, we got Royal Rumble hype. And what's the news? The man they call Vader is in it to win it big. And then after that, we got Billionaire Ted's Wrestling War Room. That's the first of this series of vignettes they're going to do. Good Lord, no. What dark days are ahead of us, Joseph? Do you want to talk about Vader or Billionaire Ted's Wrestling Room, or should we just get into the ratings?
We've kind of gone long in this, so I'm going to go ahead and let us just get into the ratings. But I will say I do have a lot to say about the Billionaire Ted thing. I think I'll save it for a future episode, because right now it's just kind of comedic. It's dumb. I don't like it. It's bad. It gets an F. It's horrible. I didn't enjoy it. But for now, they're for the most part poking fun, and that's kind of it. I mean, there's some legitimate shots. Let me rephrase it. There's legitimate shots to the Huckster and the Nacho Man that they keep talking about. I don't know if Scheme Gene's in this particular segment, but Mean Gene, who they will call Scheme Gene, he will be in future segments. For the most part, they're just kind of poking fun. It's not good. I've heard people say, the first few sketches were pretty funny. No, they're not. They're fucking stupid. They're horrible. I hate them. They're at least just kind of dumb, and that's it. They get really vile very quick. Like, damn. We'll talk about that more in a future episode. But yeah, it's not great.
Yeah, they get mean and potentially illegal, which we'll get into. So, but let's finish it. How would you rate the night? Who won? Who lost?
Honestly, if they carried the momentum of the Raw Bowl and just had kind of fun, I would have given this to Raw. They had a really good start, but God, they just fell flat immediately. And then just anytime you put on an entire match from a pay-per-view that everybody's already seen, presumably, it's a fucking waste. So WCW wins by default for me.
Yeah, both were not great tonight, but
Correct.
WCW was better. You're right. I actually liked the Raw Bowl. But when you think about it, that is really the only match of the night. They had one match because the other one was a pay-per-view replay, and the one after that was 8 seconds. So, I mean, that's really it. So, I mean, just from a pure content standpoint, even though I'm getting very tired of Hulk Hogan and his gimmick, overall WCW was superior. But what did the fans think, Joseph? Do the fans agree with us? What was Raw's rating?
Raw's rating was a 2.6.
WCW 2.5.
Wow.
The viewers wanted to watch that Raw Bowl. They wanted.
There you go. There you go.
And who can blame them?
Well, my dog has said it's time to go, Scott.
I was about to say, and with that, that's the wrap it up signal. I'm Scott. With me is Joseph. Have a great one, everybody. And Scully. Have a great one, everybody. Bye.
Hey everybody, it's Joseph. Did you like this podcast? Well, we hope that you did, and also that you join us every Monday for new episodes. You can listen to us on Spotify, and soon we'll explore other platforms to bring you episodes of the Monday Night Wars. Did you listen to this podcast and think, pretty sure they're wrong about that? Well, let us know. You can email us at mnwpodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's mnwpodcast@gmail.com. And correct anything we messed up. Don't worry, you won't bruise our egos. You can also give us suggestions, follow the show, or even just reach out to us on the following platforms. On Twitter, you can reach us at MON Night Wars Pod. Again, MON Night Wars Pod. And on Instagram and Facebook, you can reach us at Monday Night Wars Podcast. And finally, if you feel like supporting this podcast and also getting bonus content, you can follow us on Patreon at Monday Night Wars Podcast. For the low price of $2 a month, you get every episode of the Monday Night Wars and also every breakdown of every WCW and WWF pay-per-view during this era, with more content to come. Again, and one last time, thank you so much for taking the time to tune in. We'll see you next Monday back here on the Monday Night Wars podcast. I'll be right back, Scott.
Man, I must have gone too hard on that. He's scared now. He can't handle this heat. It's too much. You can't hear any of this, but you're going to hear it when you edit this. You a chump fool. You can't handle it. You can't handle the heat I'm bringing right now. It's too much. It's too much. But it's true. But it's so true. Hogan, no good. No good. And he's disrespecting my boy. And I won't stand for it. I will not stand for it.